Hello, welcome to Friday 15. This is a inaugural start of what we hope to continue to be able to provide you some information and not go deep. Let's cover this at a high level. And for those points that you want to go deeper on, you'll be able to reach out to us and we'll go deep wherever you want to go and bring the right resources to bear. My name's Michael Elliott. I'm Director of Product Marketing. You can reach me at melliott@efolder.net. You can also tweet at me at the Data Storage Man. It's a moniker I've had for over a decade. So follow me, I will follow you. Today we're going to talk about ransomware, data breaches, and really what you need to know, or at least what you need to be thinking about, and then how you take that information to your clients. And I want to begin just kind of talking about data and the exponential growth that we're all seeing. IDC reports that the compounded annual growth rate of data over the next 3 years is going to be roughly 42%. So if we look at, starting in 2010, we had a total amount of data created over, the lifetime of data creation at 1 zettabyte. And 1 zettabyte is 1 sextillion bytes, or 10 to the power of 24. I'm a mathematician by training. That's a lot of zeros. By 2010, IDC really projects that's going to be 50 zettabytes of data. Information Age then came out with the report, followed on with that, where they talked about, of all that data, nearly 20% is in the global data sphere is going to be critical to people's daily lives, and nearly 10% of that data is going to be hypercritical. What does that mean to the business, and what does that mean to your clients as we kind of see the evolution of digital transformation? Is how incredibly important this data and protecting this data, ensuring the availability of your client's business from an application and from an IoT infrastructure is going to be, and it's going to continue to grow. And by kind of thinking in these terms and presenting it in this way to your clients, how that's going to enable you to be consultative as you take your customers through that journey. So let's begin and talk about really, the biggest threat most of your clients are going to face, and that's really about ransomware. And if you have the opportunity, and you can go to my Twitter feed and pull it down because I've marked it there, the 2018 Data Breach Investigation Report by Verizon is a critical asset to understand what's really going on and the threats that are going on out there. And they list it really in their findings. Ransomware is really the number one, 39% of all malware-related data breaches. And ransomware, to kind of describe it, it's used very completely opportunistic and targeted strikes against organizations, against your businesses. And there's very, whereas like stealing credit cards and that kind of information, there's very little risk or cost to the adversary involved. And really the success, there's no reliance on having to monetize that stolen data. And ransomware really comes in two forms. Either it's financially motivated ransomware, things like Locky and Global Imposter and Philadelphia and SamSam and CryptoWall, or it's really around disruption motivated ransomware, things like WannaCry and NotPetya and Bad Rabbit, and a number of different things around that. And where this kind of leads to is, from an MSP perspective and from your client's perspective, 60% of small companies that suffer a cyber attack are out of business within 6 months. And that's where you come in. I mean, your SLAs and your assurance to enable the business to remain available, to provide business continuity, is key to your own existence. So let's go in and just look at some of the examples that I was able to pull out. When I first started researching, this presentation, one of the first ones that jumped out at me was the city of Atlanta. And the city of Atlanta was hit with a ransomware in early 2018, where a third of the city's 424 vital programs were kicked offline and disabled. And when I first started researching this, they estimated that the cost was going to be about $2.6 million to recover and provide, the assurance that it wouldn't happen again. That $2.6 million number quickly jumped up to $9.5 million. This week, I went out and did some follow-up research to see where they were. That number is now $17 million for them to be able to fully recover from what occurred and all the things they have to do to prevent this from happening in the future. We can go down and look at kind of a smaller example, and that is the Sacramento Bee. The Sacramento Bee got hit with a ransomware note that took out two databases, one containing California voter registration information, the other one taking out contact information for 53,000 of their current and former Bee subscribers. Now, Sacramento Bee was a little fortunate in this, and those databases, being that they were hosted third party, they actually, instead of paying the ransomware, they actually just deleted those servers and the databases that went with that, and that's how they were able to save having to recover from that and just rebuild from scratch. Because they weren't transaction-oriented databases, they had that option. But not everybody has that option. And you may have heard of this. There's a small Midwest retailer whose name does remain silent. They don't want to project what happened to them. But one of their employees clicked on what looked like an innocuous link that opened up the CryptoWall malware. That essentially affected accounting software, their computer account files, social security numbers, customer names, addresses. When they went in and said, well, we'll just do a fallback strategy and go to the last known good, which should have been the day before, that's when they discovered the backups that they had been doing and thought were secure were actually having issues for the past 4 months. So the only way for them to go to their backup files was to go back 4 months and lose all that transactional information. That wasn't going to work for them. So they actually decided to pay a $50,000 ransom. Paid it, they got the encryption key, found out that the encryption key didn't work, and they had really no recourse to go back and say, please give us that encryption key so that we can, continue as a company. That company actually folded, and that's the reality. There's no risk to the people who are creating these malware, who are creating this ransomware. They can give you the key, they cannot. So what can you do? What is the IT channel's response? Really two ways that you can take here and should take. One is around prevention and one of them is around recovery. From a prevention standpoint, clearly using antivirus software with a good reputation that has to be absolute. But secondly, keeping your computer operating system up to date. What they found in a lot of these studies is, bad actors were actually targeting out-of-date or older Windows or Linux operating systems because that's where the vulnerabilities and holes that were easily penetrated. Third kind of prevention strategy, and this is very strong and something you should be offering to your clients, is education. Educate your employees on proper cyber hygiene, what links to be cautious about, what to look at, how to understand those, understand how social engineering occurs to make them more aware. And that's not going to stop everything, but it adds to your capabilities of what you can provide in a consultative approach with your customers. Now, from a recovery perspective, like I talked about that small Midwest retailer, backing up your data is step one, but there's more to it than just backing up your data because that can also be an issue. You really need to start thinking about business continuity. So don't think BDR. BDR is just really, to me, around backup. Think business continuity to ensure the availability of the applications and IT infrastructure of your clients. And just going in and elaborating a little bit more, there are a lot of solutions out there, BDR that calls themselves business continuity, but truly making sure that you are offering a true business continuity suite, because a lot of the solutions out there may be unreliable. Reddit, the MSP channel, there's a huge discussion going on about one of the main BDR providers and how their program looked like it was presenting good backups and everything, but when the customer went back to restore, when the MSP went back to restore the client's data, it wasn't. So what was showing as good truly wasn't good backups, and they had to actually go back a couple of months to the last known good backup and then try to restore from there. Some of the other solutions around business continuity, what is called disaster recovery as a service, are very expensive, and they go directly from the client into the cloud. I think there's a lot more that needs to be done to truly have a true business continuity solution. And that's why, you know, at Axiom eFolder, we talk about the 3-factor business assurance. You know, first line of recovery is backup to a local storage device. And that's critical for server goes down, whatever it might be, the ability to immediately recover back locally. But then you need to start thinking about that second line of defense, which is really replication to a cloud, so that you can recover from that cloud back to the local primary site or recover to a secondary site if need. Third, though, is around business availability and starting to think about the operational enablement of that cloud. So it's not enough just to have backup locally or backup to the cloud that you recover from. How do you start to create business availability in the cloud and starting to focus on when a true disaster strikes, how can you take that customer and assure business availability in the cloud, both from a call center perspective, from an application perspective, from a database perspective, from a transactional perspective, all those different things. And that takes a very consultative approach with your customer and how you look at that. So with that, I'm going to start to conclude. Any questions you might have, I appreciate. One question did put out, and that is, you know, what truly is business continuity? I don't think I really understand that. And from my perspective, there's two things. Disaster recovery is about just recovering from a disaster. Business continuity is around ensuring availability of the business, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on a secondary site. Now, I will let you know, if you're interested in the slides, they are out there. You can download them directly. With that, thank you very much. I hopefully kept it under 15 minutes. Once again, if you need to reach me, you can reach me at melliott@efolder.net, or feel free to tweet at me, follow me, I'll follow you. I'm at the Data Storage Man. We do have one question. Oh, one question did come in. What's the question? Sorry, I'm missing it.
Tom from the audience is talking about how the continuity strategy, seems similar to Datto and Square 2, and just looking for some differentiation points on how we differentiate ourselves here at Axiom eFolder from those guys.
A lot of points of differentiation, and I'm running out of time. I'd love to continue this conversation. One thing that we differentiate from a Datto perspective, and we don't like to compete on price, we compete on value and vision, is around cloud. And how do you recover back from a cloud, and what is that process from recovering from a cloud? Is that seamless, or how complex is that? And that's one thing that we've seen from a differentiation perspective of how we get people to recover back from the cloud. How do we rehydrate? There's a huge differentiation between us and Datto that I would love to have a conversation with you about. So feel free to reach out to me and we can continue that conversation. So great question. Thank you very much, Tom. For that, we're going to conclude, and have a brilliant day.